Hello YouTube, this is Gora Radio Mosca here again with another beer review. This will be my first Italian beer review for you today. This is Peroni Red, or Birra Peroni as it's known in Italy. It's known as Peroni Red in the export markets, but as usual, let me just take you through the history of this brewery before we get on to the tasting. Now, this brewery started in the village of Vigevano, which is just to the west of Milan, in 1846 under the guardianship of Francesco Peroni. Now, one of the key things with this particular village of Vigevano was the fact its proximity to the mountains, so it provided a very good and very plentiful water supply that they say contributes to the uniquely Italian taste of Peroni. But anyway, in 1864 they had to build a second brewery in Rome due to the extremely high demand, and Francesco's son Giovanni took over the running of this second branch. But 8 years later, Peroni headquarters officially completely transferred to Rome, so all the brewing operations were in Rome. And at this point, this was a couple of years before Rome officially became the capital of Italy, because of course Italy was only united in this particular point in history. But over the next 70 years, the brewery grew to become one of the biggest and best known in Italy, and it's, as you obviously know, it's known worldwide today. But anyway, in 1933, the luxury Italian cruise liner SS Rex won the coveted Blue Riband Award, and this is known as Nastro Azzurro in Italian. And this was basically won by winning a race across the Atlantic Ocean with other passenger liners. But since that point, the SS Rex has been a symbol of national pride for the Italians, and the winning of this award inspired the name Peroni Nastro Azzurro for their obviously very famous beer. And this beer was basically created 30 years later in 1963. Now, in the 1950s, Italy went through a period of massive economic growth, and during this time the population began becoming more urban. Basically, they were moving into more urban areas, and this aided the growth of Peroni also. And in the 1960s was a big time for Italian design and Italian products becoming very well known internationally, and so this of course helped develop the growth of Peroni as well. But in 1968 they also started their iconic advertising campaign, which featured the nautical themes, the models dressed in the sort of dark blue sailor outfits, the dark blue obviously being to do with the Nastro Azzurro theme. But this was also to pay homage to sea and the sailing world, and this was also a personal passion of the Peroni family themselves. But by the 1990s, the Peroni brand was well established worldwide due to the kind of clever refinement of the market strategies, and in 2005 the company relaunched their brand globally after being purchased by the London-based SAB Miller Group, who are one of the biggest breweries in the world today. But for this particular occasion, the company hired out an empty boutique in Sloane Street, London, and this was basically to align it with the other Italian fashion brands, and a little bit of a cliche, the really high-end Italian-y stuff. But anyway, now I'll just talk about this particular beer itself a little bit. Peroni Red is Italy's #1 beer, apparently the best-selling one in the country. In comparison to Nastro Azzurro, they describe it as having a slightly darker colour with more pronounced and malty and hoppy elements to it. But this beer apparently is simply called Peroni in Italy, but it's known as Peroni Red obviously because of its red label in the export markets, and because the ones that we get in the UK and in Scotland and things like that is obviously the Nastro Azzurro one. But anyway, without further ado, let's get on to the tasting of this one. I'll just let you have a little look at the bottle art on this one. As you can see, it has Giovanni Peroni's signature and his face up on the bottle here. Just a kind of standard label. It's very kind of Italian chic looking actually, this one. The bottle cap's nothing particularly exciting. You can just see it says Birra Peroni on it. Now, the style of this beer is a 4.7% pale lager. So let's just get this open and get the tasting done here. Reserve my bottle cap as always for my collection. But anyway, here we go, let's get them poured. So you can see it's a very, very kind of pale straw colour. Very little head coming out on this one, kind of, no matter how you kind of pour it. The head incidentally is very bubbly, and it's even starting to fade right now. You can see there's not much in the way of carbonation in this one. There's some bubbles sticking to the side, but very, very kind of crystal clear beer. Actually looks really quite nice, to be honest. Well, let's just give it a smell. The first thing is kind of getting a bit of a sweet corn out of it. There's some lightly kind of grainy elements, maybe a little bit of floral and kind of citrus elements in the background as well. It smells okay. I mean, it's an industrial beer. This is a mass-produced beer, so it's not going to be the kind of heaviest one in terms of taste and smell and things like that. But let's just taste it and see. Now, the first thing that comes is the kind of grainy malts. It has that, despite being a different beer from the Nastro Azzurro, it definitely has the kind of similarity in taste, I would say. But yeah, the big thing that comes to you first is the grainy malts, and you get the elements of corn in there as well. There's a wee bit. You do get the little elements of citrus. To be honest, this beer is actually particularly watery. It's a bit more watery than the normal than the Nastro Azzurro Peroni, I would say. It tastes, in my opinion, it kind of tastes very similar. I don't think it's quite as hoppy as the Nastro Azzurro that I've tried on tap and things like that. It doesn't quite taste the same, I would say. But like I say, you taste the grainy malts, you get the corn elements out of it, and that little bit of citrus and grassy floralness to it on the background as well. It's got a little bit of a bitter finish. You have a kind of slightly bitter aftertaste. It's not too prominent. It's actually got quite a nice aftertaste, and as does the Nastro Azzurro. But anyway, like overall, I mean, I would say it's worth the try to have a different style of Peroni, but it's not it's not. I don't think this one is quite as good as the Nastro Azzurro, I have to say. It's an industrial beer, like I say. It's not kind of packing with flavour. It's fairly nice. It's a good thirst quenching beer. I mean, on the mouth, it's very light bodied. It's very smooth. It's quite crisp. You know, like I said earlier, it's quite a watery beer. It's a good thirst quencher, but overall, it's nothing fairly special. I mean, there's bound to be better beers than this in Italy itself, and I could probably name a few, but I won't go into that right now. This is to review this beer. But anyway, as I would say, if you see Peroni Red, it's a fairly cheap one to buy. Give it a try, see what you think yourself. Beer's subjective, I mean, so you might prefer this one to Nastro Azzurro, whereas I would probably prefer the Nastro Azzurro to this. So I would say it's a fairly cheap one to get. Give it a try yourself. But in my opinion, it's a nice enough beer. I'd be quite happy to drink it in Italy, but not if there's something that I find later on that's going to be a hell of a lot better. But anyway, thanks again for watching my beer reviews. Please kind of let me know your own thoughts on the beer in the comments section and things like that, and please like, subscribe and share the videos about as well. But thanks again for watching, and I shall be back tomorrow with a German beer. I've got one picked out for that, but thanks again for watching, and I shall catch you soon. Cheers.